Hi Des, it's Miss Eldred here. And I know that things aren't necessarily easy at home for everyone at the moment. So I'm hoping that people might find a little bit of comfort or reassurance in this video. I wanted to put together some tips that I've gathered from the teachers in school who are working full time but also are supporting their children with remote learning. So I hope you find it useful. The idea of the video is to try and prevent everyone from feeling like this, which I think we all are at one time or another. I hope, if anything, these tips might just reassure you that you're not alone. The top tip for the day is to make sure that the children start their day with mindfulness and to do it with them, because it just helps to focus your mind away from everything else that's happening in the home and then focus on the learning. And then one of the teachers suggested that you could either print out or screenshot the timetable, and that you would then colour code it based on the order of lessons for the day, and you can allow your child to choose what order they want to do their lessons in. And then you can agree a start time, a finish time, and then you can select when the breaks are going to be in there as well. And at that point you can decide how long the children might need to spend on each lesson. As much routine as you can build in is really important. The one thing the children have a lot of in school is routine. And they really thrive on that, particularly during the week, and then at the weekends then they know they can relax. Being flexible is really important, within reason of course. You've got to try and keep those expectations high, we know that, but you know your child best, and we all know that happy children learn. So if you're finding that your child isn't very happy that day or doesn't necessarily have the motivation that they would normally have to work, then you might need to work around them a little bit and find out what it is they need. And there might be some days where you just have to stop, and that's absolutely okay as well. Okay, if you can't do it all, that's okay. When the children are at school, they don't have the same environment that you and I would have had when we were at school. Okay, so they're not necessarily sat at desks with pen and paper all day long. It might be that they're sat on the sofa, or they're outside, or they're sitting under a tree, or they're learning in different ways. So try and be flexible about how your child wants to learn, and ask them about how they want to do it. But one of the things we really promote at desk is that physical freedom for them to be able to move. This tip actually was from Mrs. Amori. Mrs. Amori was talking about the fact that not everything always goes according to plan. And if you need to improvise, and if you need to change things as you go along, that's absolutely fine. And your children might have some really great ideas for doing that. So don't worry if the day doesn't go exactly as everybody planned. This one's really useful, particularly for those older children, for you to share your schedule with them. So for you to say that this is what my working day is going to look like, or these are the jobs I'm going to do in the house today, this is when I'm going to be available to help you, so that then they also understand that you also have things you need to do. When the children are at school, they don't just have access to the teacher the whole time they're there. There are periods of time where they're expected to work independently, and we ask them what their strategies are going to be, and then we teach them what those independent strategies are. So you can do that at home. Say to them if they get stuck, what is it they're going to do, so that's planned in. The timing of the day is quite important. We've said already for routine, but it's really important that you plan in breaks. At school, they have 2 lessons, then they have a 40-minute break, then they have 2 lessons, then they have a 40-minute break, and then it's the afternoon before home time, okay? And between those 2 lessons, there's always a transition period of some sort as well. So the children are never really focusing, depending on the age, some of them for more than about 20 minutes, and then the older children for no more than 50 minutes at a time, okay, before they then have a break. So it's really important that you schedule those in. And then when you have those breaks, use it as time to shut off. So it's a perfect time for you to also shut off from work, and make it fun, about food, about running around, and no screen time. So it's a genuine break. Imagine playtime at school and what the children get. And I think that will really help them when they then go back into work to then refocus. At school, we make sure that the children have as much ownership as they possibly can over their learning. So trust them with it. allow them to fulfill the lessons in the way that they want to, and allow them to discuss that then with their teacher. They're very, very used to talking about learning with their class teacher, and that's the relationship that they have. So if they're finding it difficult or easy, they need to communicate with that with their teacher in the same way they would do as if they were at school. But the really good thing about you allowing them to do that and to take ownership of that themselves is that then you become more of a parent role rather than taking on that teacher hat, which I know can be challenging. It also helps you to be the emotional support rather than the teacher. This one is a really important conversation to have with your child, particularly if you as a parent sometimes think, that's not their best work. What you need to try and do is to try not to judge it yourself, and to ask your child what they think of the work. If they think it's their best work, why they think it's their best work, and if they're ready to send it in. If they don't, they can then reflect on it themselves. So it's something they're practiced at doing as well. The one thing the children are missing is when they're at school, they have all their friends around them who are learning the same thing at the same time. So they'd normally be able to pull on that, and they are missing that, I know. So at the moment, what I would do is try and find other friends in the class and get their phone numbers or have them online. And that if your child is stuck on a lesson, give them access so that they can phone their friends to ask what their friends were doing for support. They're all doing it. It's completely normal to ask for help, and they're all going to be getting stuck at different points. And if your child is stuck, it may well be that another one is as well. And to remember to role model what it's like when you find things difficult. So it's okay for them to be wrong. When we're at school, quite often as teachers are wrong, and we always demonstrate that to the children, and we say, I didn't do that right, and we role model how we overcome things and how we ask for help if we need it. So it's really important the children feel that it's absolutely okay to get things wrong and to ask for help, and that actually there's no judgment about them being right or wrong. It's really important that their teachers know when they need help, because then it helps them inform their next lessons. So if you go back to Miss Knowles' video, I think she talked about it a little bit in there as well. And this one, I think some of us all feel a little bit like that lady juggling all those plates. You need to be kind to yourselves and allow the children to be kind to themselves as well. Emotional well-being has to come before anything else. Happy children learn. Children who are unhappy or very stressed or very anxious or feeling like they can't do something are not going to learn as well. So just do your best to try and keep that home environment as calm as you possibly can, and to be kind to yourself and realise that the expectations you had on yourself before we had the lockdown probably can't be the same now. Okay, you probably can't do everything to the same expectations as you were before. And thank you very much. You are all doing an incredible job. All we are all doing is trying our best. That's all we can all ask from each other. We're all learning, we're only human, and we can't do everything. So if there are those days where you just can't do it, that's okay, because we have those days too. I hope it was useful. Take care.